Oh shit.
Yeah. All right, we ready, Dan? All right, let's get it going. What up, everybody? It's the Bains and Beers Podcast. I'm here with my host, co-host, Ananda Bains, and myself, and we have a very special guest, Sharan Contoured Studios.
That's right.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. So let's get into it. Let's tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, when you started.
Sure. So I started makeup. You know what? It's been like 5 years. I keep telling everyone, oh, I've been doing this for like 8 years, but I've been doing this for like 16 years. Like this September, it's been 16 years. And time just flies by. Like it's been a long time. I feel like I was a baby when I started. But 16 years going, and I've been doing bridal hair and makeup ever since. I quit my job, my full-time job, and that was like a whole thing on its own because my dad was like, "Don't do it, you're gonna regret it." But here I am, and I've honestly never looked back. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been great. A lot of back when I started, there was like really no one out there, and then it just kind of like slowly picked up, and
now everyone's a makeup artist.
A lot of makeup artists, a lot of great talent, right? I feel like there's so many, but everyone has something to offer. So
it's like it's a very like saturated market too, right? And you're saying like when you started there was barely anyone.
There was like the original OGs, like you know, like a handful of makeup artists, and I remember like working with them, and I'd be like, oh my god, like they're so amazing. And then of course back then everyone relied on word of mouth, right? Because if you think about it, like Facebook and stuff, it only really kicked in and like really got popular probably like 10, 11 years ago. So that's when I feel like people started really utilizing like social media to advertise and like get out there and like, market themselves using that. But before that, it was just word of mouth. So I feel like those people, like the older, like the OG makeup artists, like they really worked hard to, put their names on the map. But
what did you do before, like as your full-time job, and then like how was that switch?
So I was actually a legal assistant by trade. Like that's what I went to school for, and I was still schooling, finishing my crim degree, and so I was pretty much working full time. Like I was working. I got my job at this like law firm here in Langley, and Bryanton and Associates. They actually closed down. It was this such a nice. He was such a nice lawyer. Like he had been in the industry forever. And so I worked with him, and I did a lot of like conveyance and wills, and then I switched over to like family law. And I feel like that's where, when I switched over to family law, I think that's when I was like, I'm done. I can't do this for the rest of my life. But it was finishing crim, and I thought, okay, I'll finish my crim. Who knows? Maybe I'll law school, something, right? Like I'll go somewhere. But this happened to just fall into my lap, realistically. Actually, I have a friend to thank for it. She was like, I'm going to go to Blanche McDonald. I'm going to learn my makeup. And, I remember, like, we were just talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking a semester off school. I think I'm going to go, too. I'll just, what do I have to lose, right? And I feel like I'm one of those people, like, I'm such a go person that I don't know how to stop. So even though I was trying to take a semester off of work, just to relax and do something just like take time for myself, I ended up going back to school, going for makeup, and that's it. All the rest is history. And then I just started doing, once I finished school, I started like kind of, offering like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do your makeup. Okay, sure, I'll do your makeup. And then it just got picked up. And eventually it got so busy where I had actually quit my job in Langley, and I was working for another, like a bigger company in downtown Vancouver. And I remember like slowly, I don't know how it happened, but slowly I found myself calling in sick to work to take on makeup bookings. And I remember this one time, my manager goes, you've been you've been quite sick lately. And I was like, have I? And I was like, oh shit, like I've been taking off a lot of time off of work. And and then eventually I was like, you know what? It's gotten so busy and I can't keep up with it. I was saying no to so many, and I enjoyed doing that, right? Like I enjoyed the hair and makeup part of it, and I enjoyed like meeting new people. I wasn't stuck behind a desk. So I just kind of quit my job, started doing this, and I remember my dad saying, "You're gonna regret this. I'm telling you right now." And I remember like it was at my parents' old house, and I remember they had, like they had these like stairs that kind of like curved up, and he's standing up at the railing, and I'm standing up at the railing, and he's standing in the entrance, and he was leaving for work, and he's like, "I'm letting you know." And I saw that picture, I'll never forget, because there I was, and I was like, I don't care. I quit. It's already done. Like, too bad. What's the worst that's gonna happen, right? I'm still living with you guys. It's not like I have rent to pay. So he's like, all right, whatever. And then I think he didn't talk to me properly the next day. And then I think he thought about it, and he's like, you know what? It's okay. She's young. She's just being stupid. She's not gonna, it's just, she'll get over it. And here we are 16 years later. And honestly, he's probably he's like one of my number one fans, and like always cheering me on. You're doing so good. Yeah. Oh my God. So many people know you. Like, everyone's always asking like, oh, like, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah. That's right, Dad.
Yeah. Was it pretty was there a lot of money in it back then?
The money was still good, right? Like, of course, now it's definitely different. But I mean, considering everything else in price has gone up, of course, over time, things like services do go, and it is a luxury service if you think about it, right? Yeah. So I feel like I know, like, in the past, there have been a lot of, like, controversy around that, right? Like, where people are like, oh, well, makeup artists are charging, or like anywhere in the wedding industry, you get told, oh, like, they're charging so much and so and whatever. But I think people kind of don't realize the work that actually goes into it, right? There's a lot of, and I try telling this to, like, I have off season, I usually teach classes, and I do a lot of one-on-ones where, I have girls, like, I really want to be a makeup artist. And my first thing, I always tell them, like, okay, like, I'm just putting it out on the table. Like, this isn't, like, you're spending so much money to learn, and you want this as a career, but just remember, like, you get no weekends, you don't get time off, you don't get sick calls. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life, you have to put on a smile and you go do your work, because you might not be feeling your best, but you can't call in because these people, they're not going to have that. You can't be like, sorry, I'm just not feeling up for it, or I'm feeling sick. Can you postpone your wedding, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. So I always let a lot, like, especially the younger girls, because I think a lot of people think, and that's the thing, like, this industry has become so pish posh. Like, it's known to, oh my God, like, so and so, like, the way you portray yourself and like the name brand stuff and
like it's just, I feel like, I get what you're saying, like, pish posh, like, everybody's talking, everybody's
like it's just like everyone has a name for it.
Everybody's like got you on a microscope, man. Everybody's like
it's just, they think like, oh, it's just all fun and games, but there's so much work that goes into it, right? And
they just think, oh, I want to be a mua, right? Like, pretty much.
Yeah, mua. Yeah.
But like, that's funny. It's so true though, because
I've seen it, especially with the younger girls. Like, they just think, like, they see it, like, but you've been doing this for like 16 years, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's the part that they don't really see. You probably like feel like when you're teaching them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, building your clientele, putting in the effort, putting in the work, putting in free hours, like like I said, when I started, like, I remember, like, in my early 20s, and I gave up my 20s. Like, I always, I tell a lot of people, like, that, especially people in my life, no, like, I have given up my 20s, given up my weekends. Like, I worked 14, 15-hour days. Like, I would be up.
Did you ever regret that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I feel like there's days when I'm like, oh, I could have taken it easy. But then, honestly, I feel like I'm in such a good place now where I'm like, oh, I'm glad I put that work in then, because you have so much more energy when you don't have kids. Right? So, but it was great. Like, you know, like it was, I did all of that. I did like, you know, I remember like taking on everything and anything. If anyone called me for a photo shoot, I'd be like, yeah, sure, you know, and like fit in whatever I could, music videos, and anything, you name it. Like I was like, sure, I'll do it. Yeah.
And a lot of it was just word of mouth.
Word of mouth, majority of it. And just connecting with people, right? Like letting them know, like, hey, I'm available. Sure, like I'm tell me when you need me and I'll work around it. Or like even days when I was off, if someone ever called me to be like, hey, we're going to do this, you know, photo shoot, you want to collaborate, I would never say no.
Not giving
that
up
is,
any
opportunity. Yeah. But like, I mean, now when I look back at it, to be like, I think I would have been a little, like, I feel like I should have been a little bit more selective, because I think that's when the burnout happens, right? Is when you go.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a time, I'd say, when I absolutely started, and this happens with any career. I feel like when you start hating your job, you know, there's always a time when you're like, oh, you regret waking up. Like you just don't even want to wake up in the morning because you're like, another 2 a.m. wake up call, you know? And you're like, oh, I wish I could call in, but you can't. Like other jobs you might be able to, but here you just can't. You
rude bride or something, right?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I've had my clients, I'd say 98% of my clientele in 16 years have been amazing. It's very slim, like, that I would have someone, like, that's absolutely, I don't even want to deal with. But even that, it's never been something that's, you know, where I'm like, you know, you know what?
But
you know,
I think that comes down to like your personality.
I think
as
it's
a
a
person.
reflection on
Absolutely.
the person.
And like how you run your business.
And I tell this, and I have a team now, right? I've had a team for 12 years. And I tell them too, I'm like, it's what you put out. The energy you put out is the energy you're getting back.
Yeah.
And I'm such a strong believer in that, like, where, you know, as long as you're happy and you're talkative and I go into, and I always say this, like, you want to go into every single booking thinking that this is your first booking. Because as soon as you go in thinking, oh, another day, another wedding, another whatever, because for me, every day is another wedding, you know, it's like, but for that client, it's their big day, right? Like they don't get their makeup done every day.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And then like how, like for a makeup artist, like how important is it to, like you said you were in the game for 16 years, right? And like you said you went to makeup school, right? And then over time, like how important is it to practice your craft, or how important is it to like go to those conferences or makeup schools in order to like elevate that game over the years? Because I feel like the styles have probably changed over time.
Oh my God, yeah. Like every year there's new things coming out, and you do, even products, right? You really do have to do your homework. Like you have to keep up with the trends, you have to keep up with the products, you have to keep up with like all the different name brands, and like it is, the industry is, it's one of those industries that's never going to die out. Everyone's always going to want their makeup done. Everyone always wants to look good. And the thing is, us women, you know, we might not have money for, like, let's say we'll be like, oh, you know, that doesn't need to get done, but I'm going to go buy that face cream that's like, you know, $200. It's one of those things that you just kind of, everyone wants to look good, right? Because when you look good, you feel good. So I feel like you have to keep educating yourself when it comes to, because there's thousands and thousands of products. And honestly, like, some people will come, have you tried this? Like, have you tried this? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't tried that one yet, because, you know, I still have all this stuff I gotta finish. But yeah, I mean, you're always, and your kit always has to be up to par, and obviously, stocking that product all the time. And when it comes to education, I'd say, yeah, like, I mean, I'm always watching, you know, other artists and learning from, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry. I might, you know, here I am 16 years later, but I still look at even the newcomers, and like, they might have something like a technique that they use, and I'm like, I haven't tried that. I'm going to try that. Yeah. You know, you learn off of each other. And I think that's what's important, is like keeping, like, not always thinking that you know best just because you've been in the industry for so long, right?
I've heard that's a big issue with some artists, that they constantly like feel like, you know, they're better than everyone else. And there's like a lot of judgment that goes around, because I guess you guys do put your art out there quite a bit, right? Like you'll put your models or your
of course,
the work is out there,
brides, and the work is out there, and like people love to judge other people's art, right?
Of course, and I'm sure that happens. Like you know, and you know, the way I look at it, I just feel like at the end of the day, realistically, art's never perfect. You know what I mean? Like art is whatever you express. And for me, what I do is what I do. And my thing is, I don't have people that know me know I don't have a signature look. Like I don't have that one look that I go to, you know, for all my brides. I don't have, I'm always constantly asking my brides, hey, like, what do you like? Because they know their face better than I do, realistically, right? Like, I mean, you live with live with yourself. You see yourself in the mirror every morning. You know what you want on yourself. So I'm always like, what are you comfortable with? How much makeup are you like? If you do you want a dramatic look? Do you want a simple look? Do you want big lashes, small lashes? What lip colors do you like? You know, you have to. Like, I feel like, so you can't. I feel like there are. Of course, like in the industry, like it's nice to have a signature look for yourself, but I feel like I was never able to. I feel like versatility is so important in this. You know.
I saw one of your reels where it was like the aunties saying that it's like too cakey, like they walk into the room or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like a reel, and it was like, I don't know, I forgot what the sound was.
What do you mean by too cakey?
Like the
like
makeup.
Too much makeup. He's saying like sometimes like people will be like, oh, it's too much, and then you just kind of have to go, okay, well, it's her wedding day. This is what the bride wants, and that's another thing. Like honestly,
has auntie actually done that?
So I've had a handful. You know what? The brides are usually so because the brides have usually had consultations, right? That we've talked and like, you know, we're messaging each other, and like I usually have my brides like contact me before so we can talk about their looks and stuff. And usually brides are very like, this is what I want, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, which is nice for me because then you're not guessing and you're not like trying to do that and like then, right? But even just non-bridal clients too, like I feel like everyone has their way of doing things, but there's always the only time someone is very indecisive is when there's another person in the room, you know, because they're looking for approval from that person, right? So, and if you guys think about it, I'm sure even with guys, like anyone, like any human being, if you think about it, like if I'm like, let's say we're all shopping, okay, and I'm trying something on, I'm like, oh, I really like this, you know, and I'm like talking, and someone else is, or like one of you guys is standing there and you're just not even saying anything, right? And you're just like, just staring at me. And I'm like, oh, does this look nice? And you're not saying, and then you're like, it's okay. Of course I'm going to be indecisive because I'm like, oh, shit, like I thought I looked good. You know, like what don't I, and then that's when I feel like it gets put into your head. So I always tell like my brides, I'm like, listen, what you want, like it's nice to have opinion of other people, but when you've been thinking about your look for, some brides are planning these events for almost 2 years, you know, a year or 2 years. So if you've been thinking about like, this is what I want for my special day, but then someone comes in and they're giving you like, they're not even giving you a reaction, don't let that get to you, right? Because they haven't seen, like we might just be in the process of like your makeup. And trust me that it's a process. When I say like, you have, like it's every step is, you know, like if someone's like watching me do makeup, they're kind of like, that doesn't look really good. And then, you know, until you're like done, like everything has to be done for you to really see what it looks like, right? Yeah.
It's crazy because like I feel like as a bride, you know, your wedding day, you get your makeup done, and then you know, as a friend, it's like
you want to pump them up,
but
right?
like it's like as a friend, you're in the wrong. Are you in the wrong if like let's just say she doesn't look good? Like, are you supposed to tell her?
Do, man?
I'd be like, yo, but then you're a bad,
like fucking.
But then you're a bad
20 grand.
Does that happen where you've had to like take off the makeup and like redo it?
No, thank God. Yeah. I've never had that.
Are there stories like that?
I've heard stories like that from makeup artists, like where, but it wasn't like the makeup was bad. It's just they're not comfortable. The client just isn't comfortable with that much makeup. But then, of course, again, that comes down to communicating, right? And like saying, okay, well, what do you like, right? And you know what? I had about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I got flown out to Malaysia, okay? for a bride, and her and her husband are from New York. And so they got married in Malaysia, so she flew me out. And when I'm saying and even I think about this all the time, like, okay, obviously they had a lot of money, right? Because she flew me out to Malaysia to pretty much really do nothing to her face. Like, it was, I was like, this is all you want? Like, you could have done this on yourself. And she's like, yep, this is all I want. So I pretty much just did her hair, and it was just very basic, like pretty much what I look like right now is what she wanted, and maybe like a little bit of lashes. But even this, I feel like what I'm wearing today is a lot for her. Like, I was just so shocked, and I think I felt like I didn't put my best work out there, right? Because I was like, I feel like you could do more. And she's like, no, I love it. And like, she was so happy, and I love this. This is exactly what I wanted. I'm like, okay, because obviously we had this talk, and I was trying to convince her. I'm like, listen, it is your wedding day. You want a little bit. And she's like, no, I don't. She goes, I don't want a lot. And I'm like, okay. But even to this day, like, I tell friends, like, if I share the story, I'm like, you guys, wow, I can't believe she paid me to fly out there, paid for my accommodations. I took my family with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't believe that she was okay paying for all of that for me to provide her with like very minimal makeup. And it just doesn't make sense to me. But, when people, but I think that's the thing. Like, I think some people, when you're choosing your makeup artist, you just have to trust them to do that. They're going to do what you want them to do. You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously choosing them because like she said it. She's like, I picked you because I know you're versatile when it comes to looks. Yeah. And I know that you're going to listen to me and what my needs are, because she showed me pictures of like what she likes, what she doesn't like, and like, okay, but I want that, but I want bare minimum. And I said, okay, like, and that's the thing. Like, I won't pressurize unless I know something doesn't look good. And I will, and I'm a very open person when it comes to, it takes us back to like, are you a bad friend? Trust me. I've had clients where I'm like, listen, I know you really want that, but that's tacky. We shouldn't do that, Yeah, like, we shouldn't do that. And usually like the clients will be like, okay, or, we'll adjust it so that it looks good, do a little bit of it, but not really, like, we will adjust things accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
No more Malaysia trips though.
Yeah. No more Malaysia trips for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of like, well, I guess that's your hardship, is like constantly having to, I guess like fit what they like, and like
right.
the pressures of that, I guess, and like everybody around them during the wedding days and all that other stuff. What are some other hardships you have to face as a makeup artist?
Honestly, there's so much that goes into, like, you give up so much of your, I mean, being in this industry isn't easy. And whether you're a makeup artist, a photographer, a videographer, or, whatever, anyone, decorator, if you talk to anyone in the wedding industry, they'll tell you how draining it is. And, like I said, we don't get sick calls. We can't wake up and be like, hey, and an example of that, like, I've had, about 10 years ago, my grandpa passed away, okay? And the morning of his funeral, I had a bride. Obviously, I can't cancel my bride, right? Like, she can't change her wedding. And when they hire you, right? So when I'm signing that contract, I am pretty much signing my life away. Like, I'm there no matter what, like, Yeah. And so morning of her wedding, here I am, like, I'm also mentally preparing myself for this funeral. And I remember, like, putting on this, like, face and just being happy. And I was genuine. Like, I like, when I'm with my brides, I honestly can say I'm genuinely happy for my brides. Like, I love knowing how they met their significant other. I love knowing, like, all the details leading up to the wedding. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I just love being a part of that, like, a small part of their big day. Mm-hmm. But I remember, like, everything's fine. And I remember the photographer comes and I had to take him to the side. And when the bride was doing something, I was like, listen, like, here's a situation. I really have to be out of here because I have to go to my grandfather's funeral. And he's looking at me like, are you kidding me? Like you're gonna go, like, it's today? And I was like, yeah, like, it's today. And he was just like, yeah, let's get this rolling. And that's another thing. Like, I feel like people that are in this industry understand each other.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't, and we all know you can't obviously make everyone happy. You're obviously going to have, like, over time, you're going to have clients that are not going to be happy with something you do. And that's okay. Like, you can't, and I feel like it's the criticism that you have to learn. Like, you can't, knowing that you can, taking criticism, turning into a positive learning experience. And it is definitely hard, because I remember in the beginning, there was definitely difficult clients. I've had oh my God. So guys, beginning of my career, okay, and this story I've shared the story with a lot of, like, other makeup artists too. I'm like, this happened to me at the beginning of my career, and I think I was so naive.
Yeah.
But something inside of me must have just clicked. So I was at this booking, okay, and this is like the first year I was doing makeup, so I was doing a lot of non-bridal makeup, a lot of bigger bridal parties and that kind of stuff. And I remember being at this house, and there was a client. So I finished, like, I was doing hair. And I was like, okay, I'm only going to do hair today. And I was there with, like, 2 other makeup artists. So I was like, guys, I'm only going to do hair today. So, someone else was doing hair too, and I was doing hair. And this one client, okay, she kept watching the 2 of us do hair. And she obviously liked the way I was doing hairs, because she waited for me to finish up, so that she watched me do 2 or 3 styles. And then she waited for me, and she was like, I want to come, like, and the other girl was done. And she was like, no, I think I'm going to go to her. So I was like,
the barber shop, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, so I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, just give me, like, 15 more minutes, and I finish up, wrap up, whatever. And she comes and sits in my chair, and then she's like, oh, this is what I want. I want my hair down. This is what I want. And I said, okay. And I do her hair, and everyone's like, oh, it looks great. But then she's like, then she felt uncomfortable. So I guess what had happened was she was transitioning into, like, she had just taken Amrit. So she was now transitioning, right? Into, like, she stopped cutting her hair and all of that. And I think she had just taken Amrit, right? So I think she was still, like, practicing, or I don't know, right? Like, the process, right? But she was like, you know what? I don't think I should leave my hair down. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We can put it up. So then I put her hair up, and I turn it into, like, a nice, like a nice style, like soft bun, whatever. And then she's like, yeah, it looks great. And her sister's like, wow, I love your hair. And her sister and, like, another cousin of hers was, like, pumping her up. And she leaves the room, and she goes into the bathroom and never comes back. Okay. And never comes back. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I finish, I wrap up. And now, like, whatever, we all kind of finish, and we're in the middle of collecting payment. And she got some guy to come out, and I don't know who, like, another family member, right? And he goes, oh, listen, like, she's not happy with her hair, so she's not going to pay you. And I was just like, what? And when you get that lump in your throat? Because this is, like, one of my very first, like, few bookings, okay? Like, I'm talking, like, maybe, like, 7-8 bookings in, right? And I was like, not going to pay me? And I was like, she doesn't like it? Okay, whatever. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. Like, fuck the money, whatever. I just want to know why she doesn't like what, like, because I did technically 2 hairstyles on her, right? Because she decided she didn't want her hair down because, because she's now Amrishak and she shouldn't have it, right? So I was like, okay, like, I spent 2.5 hours on her hair, right? Like, and I was like,
trying to be serious.
I was just like, what the hell? And then the other girls I'm working with, they're staring at me, and I'm staring. They're also newbies, right?
Yeah,
and we're
all
like,
confused.
what the hell, right? So I was like, okay, and thank God that 2-3 weeks before that, I had another friend that had a similar situation.
Yeah.
Okay. But she had this situation with like someone with their makeup, and she's like, man, this girl didn't pay me, so I just, like, left. And I was like to her, what? I would have done this. I would have told her, wash your face if you don't want it, right? And so while I'm standing there, okay, the clocks are, like, everything's ticking, like, everything. I'm just like, all this is, like, going in my head. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I was, like, telling my friend that you should have done this. You should. I'm like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I want to know. So I said to this guy, I'm like, okay. I was like, can I talk to her? And he's like, he kind of got weird because he was like, shit, like, now she wants to talk to her. So I was like, yeah, I'll just talk to her. I just want to ask what she doesn't like. So this girl's standing in the bathroom, and she's like, just, like, all done and ready and whatever. And I'm like, hey, like, I heard you don't like your hairstyle. Is it okay if I just tell me what you don't like? I can fix it for you. And she goes, no, it's okay. And I'm like, no, but just tell me what you don't like so I know, right? For the future too. Like, I want to know what you don't like. And she she couldn't pinpoint, like, what she didn't like. So I was like, okay, but, if it like, there's two things now, right? And I don't know if what I did was right or wrong, but this is what I felt, okay, at that point, because I was frustrated, because I'm like, okay, 2.5 hours of doing your hair and you're not going to pay me. So I was like, it's fine. I'm like, if you don't like it, I want my pins back. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I want my pins back, and I want you to take out the hair. Because I'm like, if you don't like it, I wouldn't feel good knowing that you went to an event with hair that you don't like. So let's just take it out, and then you can do your hair the way you want to do it. And then she's like, oh. And because I don't think she was expecting that, right? Because I was like, obviously, I was like, I was like, and it's also unfair if I'm going home not getting paid for my time, my product. Right?
She's rocking that same hair.
Exactly. And the thing is, though, like, 5 other women said to her, hey, it looks really good. So I was like, okay. And then I think, I don't know exactly what the issue might have been. Maybe she just didn't want to pay me, right? And maybe I think she thought.
Well, it makes sense. Like, if you're wearing the same hairstyle and go to the event,
right? Why would you? If you feel like you look ugly with that, then just take it out.
Yeah, but he tried coming in to finesse, man.
Yeah, and then
like, so like transitioned at the beginning.
I thought she said it's transitioning. I thought you meant different way. I was like, what? 16 years ago, this was happening.
Yeah, and it was, but I was just so thrown off, and I think that left such a bad taste in my mouth, because I was like, wow, like, you thought, okay, this girl's new in the industry. She's not going to, whatever. And I think it was also because I think she was here for a wedding, and she just thought the people that were hosting were going to pay for everyone. Oh. And then, so maybe she just, who knows?
How much was the cost back then?
Oh my God, I think it was like $50 for hair. Yeah.
$50, she's doing tamasha.
Yeah, right? It was like cheap back then. Like, I remember, back then, I'm
Did she
sure.
Get the pins back?
No, so she said, okay, no, and then the guy was still standing behind me, and he was like, oh, koi na, main kar danna pe, right? And I was like, well, yeah. I'm like, if she's not going to take it out, someone has to pay me. I was like, I spent double the time. I'm not charging you for 2. I technically did 2 hairstyles. Like, I'm not charging you for 2 hairstyles. I'm just saying pay me for what I did, like, my time and my product. And because product's not cheap, you guys. 100%. Like, these makeup, like, us as makeup artists, and I'm sure a lot of other makeup artists have done that. Like, you insure your kit because they're $15,000, $20,000 kits, right? Like, makeup's expensive.
How do you ensure you get paid though? Like, do you guys take a deposit or something, or?
Yeah, like, of course, when you're doing bookings.
Because I feel like people probably just, like, there's probably so many people that would try to do that and be like, oh, I don't like it, and not pay it.
I think now people don't, I mean, back in the days, it's not like anyone's going to get called out. Now I feel like everyone gets called out. Put on blast. Right? Yeah. People get called out. I mean, we live in a cancel culture.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really cancel culture, but it's like,
like, put on blast.
But some people deserve to. You know what I mean? Like, people like that don't pay up. Like,
oh yeah, like, it's just now you have e-transfers, fucking this.
There's no excuse not to pay someone, right? Yeah. And also, it's a luxury. Like I said, it's a luxury service. Don't get it done if you can't afford it, right? Right. It's not like, I mean, if thinking like, oh, I want this, but
like 7 bookies in, that's pretty smart. I feel like someone else that's so new would have probably just broke down or.
But like, I on it, like I said, I had that lump in my throat. I was ready to cry. Yeah. I was ready to just like, I was so like I was turning red, and I wanted to just leave that house and just be in my car and just cry on the way home. But then I honestly, it was, who knows, like it was probably because I had that conversation maybe like that 3 weeks ago with another new artist. And I was like, oh my God, you should have done this. And I was giving her suggestions. So I was like, I'm going to take my own advice on this one, because it's not fair, right? Like 100%. It's, when you put your work, and especially when you're like, well, you watched me do like 3 other people's hair and you liked my hairstyles. Yeah. That's why you came sad and white, like. She was being smart about it because she knew I could create what she wanted, but who knows? I don't know her side of it either, right? Like
100%, there could be two,
right? So
something, maybe her husband was being like an ass or something. Okay, so I have a question.
I'm like waiting. Where is this going?
I was just saying, maybe the husband's like, "Oh, like, what are you doing?" She's transitioning. He's probably he's probably a singer, and he's probably like, "Yo, like, tu nahi kar sakti." But anyways, I was gonna ask you a question. You know how like you guys, like your guys' marketing is like before and after pictures, right? Mm-hmm. Of like the as a makeup artist.
Yeah.
Question. Right? It's a good question, right? And like sometimes like I know back in the day, but now it's probably different where you guys have to ask permission if you can post it before and after and stuff like. But I remember back in the day, this was like this whole thing where like people were like kind of some people were getting like they were looking a certain way before, and then just completely face changes with the makeup on. And like did you ever, like, I feel like at a point, like, it's kind of, it's making, as a makeup artist, you look like a better artist, but did you ever feel like that came at the expense of, like, the bride or whoever was getting married, or like I feel like that was a big thing back. I don't know if it is now, but I remember hearing this where like
where you see
bro, I'm thinking about the exact picture that
I see it. And the videos, right?
Where like the girl is just like completely
and then there's all these comments, just hate comments at the
but now, but like back in the day, obviously, like there wasn't, social media wasn't that big, and if you saw a picture, like you would think it and nobody was really saying it, but obviously now it's a different world where people are just gonna start going off on that, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like a lot of like girls that got makeup done after it came out, and they were kind of like we didn't expect that to get posted, right? Like because like at the end of the day,
I've had actually brides that were like, can you take down my before picture? And I said, yeah, that's fine. I've never fought that because I just feel like I wouldn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, right? Because if I didn't like something that someone posted about me, I would feel the same way. I would be like, hey, can you please take it down? And out of respect for the brides or clients, whoever it is, I did. Like, I think there's been a handful of brides that are like, hey, like, I know we did and I said during the time, yes, sure, take the before picture, but I don't think I'm comfortable with you posting it. And I always said, okay, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Let's take it down. But yeah, you're right. There's been so many videos and like memes and like that kind of stuff. And like I remember like there's so many pages that would post stuff like that. Like
it's unfortunate, right? Because they would just take the picture off someone's like makeup page and
you also have to remember sometimes these photos can be edited too, right? Like it's not like everyone's like it's makeup does enhance your features. There are ways of sculpting. And especially like there's so much like special effects too, right? Like or like even like people think like contouring and highlighting certain areas, like it can give you like that effect of like to the naked eye, like it makes it seem like, oh, like this person, your total face structure has now changed. But it's a possibility to do that. But I don't think with the makeup trends going on now, it's a lot more like simple, natural, enhancing your own beauty and that kind of stuff. Of course, I think a couple years back that the very dramatic sort of transformations were in. But I don't know. I just feel like it was taken to a lot of, right? And I think it was just like at one point it was just very disrespectful to the clients, and like and then they're going viral, right?
Yeah.
So of course, like I think like a lot of people were very smart about how they were posting, because they didn't want to put people on blast. They didn't want, you know, people to feel insecure about it. And you know, as women, it sucks, but like a lot of women are insecure in their own skin, and like you know, when you have a breakout or when you're whatever, right? Like you're feeling a certain way, and confidence, not everyone is as confident, right?
Someone
like
else,
so you have to, I don't know.
And like it's understandable for a makeup artist, because that's your, in a sense, that's your business, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's your bread and butter.
And butter. So if you're able to make someone go from this to that's what's gonna sell, right?
Yeah.
In a sense. But like once, I guess when someone comes in, they're like, okay, well, we want to look like that, but like they're not expecting for that to be blasted on social media, right?
Yeah.
And that's where like I know what picture you're talking about too. I remember, and that went viral, and like the girl, it was like a whole thing, and like she came out.
A husband, right? Poor guy, he wakes up in the morning.
Okay, but it wasn't here, right? I think it was like I think it was like from
maybe
somewhere
like
else in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, people were saying some pretty. But I think there was a couple of them.
Yeah.
There was a couple videos where people were just that's so wrong.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah.
You guys look great.
Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, and it's a lot of hard work. Like, you know, like you can't change. Like, makeup doesn't change a person's skin.
No.
You know, we can't really, like, we can't fix anyone's skin. So if like someone like, you can cover up stuff, but of course, like, I think a lot of people, and there are like, you know, some people that just don't realize like sometimes things that go on, everything's filtered nowadays, everything's edited nowadays. So it's very important to understand that social media it's not fun. You know, like it's not, social media is so deceiving, right? What it seems like, and even in general, like what someone's life seems like on social media, that's not really how things are. Everything's not like all happy, and they're not,
it's very toxic,
right? It's very toxic.
Are you pretty big? Like, when did you get on social media? How did that, like, where did you come about where you're like, okay, now I need to start marketing more? Or is your life kind of out there on social media, or are you kind of private about it?
I'm a very private person. I don't think I actually started really, honestly, I think a lot of people didn't even know what I looked like up until COVID. Because when COVID happened, I was like bored at home, and that's when, you know, like TikTok became really big, and people were like doing the little TikToks and this and that. That's why, okay, like I need stuff to post, right? Because like you got to keep up with your engagement, you got to keep up with posting stuff. That's when I remember being like, okay, maybe I'll start creating some reels and like whatever. And I think that's when people were like, oh my God, we want to see more of you. Like we don't even see more of you, because a lot of people, the only people that really knew who I was, how I was, my personality, were people who booked me as clients. You know, they're the ones that actually know who I am. Otherwise, like if you're just following me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you won't really know who I am, because I am a very private person. I always have been. I try not to, like maybe once a year, I'll post something like with my family. Like, you know, even like, I don't even think a lot of people don't even know what my husband looks like or what my kids look like, and I post very minimal about them. But the few times I have posted my kids, honestly, and I think it's a personal thing too. Like I find it weird, like my kids get recognized. Like you know, when you're out and about, and like I've had this has happened to me so many times where like someone's come up to me and they're like, you know, hey, like I recognized your kids, and I'm like, you recognize my kids but not me? Like that's weird, right? Like and so I don't know. I just find that. I find that like kind of,
that is kind of weird.
Or like when you post, and like with business pages, I'm sure you guys know, like you can see how many people have saved or shared your stuff. So if I ever do post it like that, and I see like, oh my God, there's like, you know, 200 or 300 people that are like saving a picture of me and my kid, I find that weird. So like there has been times when like I found that like I kind of got weird, and I would just delete it.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just like I said, I'm a private.
That is weird though.
Right?
Like if it's your work, that's different. Someone saving like a picture of your kid and you.
Right.
Like, that's kinda,
right. And it's weird. Yeah. Like I find it, because I was like,
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So
there's so much like there's so much bad energy out there.
Right.
People are so like
How has it been being a mom and stuff like that?
It's good. Yeah. It's a lot of work. Like, there's days when today I was like, oh my God, like, I'm going to be on this podcast and I have to like talk and, you know, I have to like have adult conversation. Yeah. So I felt so drained where I'm like, I think I need a nap. So I was like to my husband, like, listen, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to nap for an hour. I don't want to hear any of you. Like, just like, I need an hour to just like zone out and like take whether I'm napping or just laying there. I just need to like, and he was like, yeah, go do it. But it's a lot of work. Kids are a lot of work. And sometimes like now I even like with work now, I feel like I've really cut back on the amount of work I take on because I don't want to, like, I'm finally learning, okay, I don't have to give up my entire summers, right? Because if I give up my summers, then I don't have any time with the kids, which kind of, it sucks, right? Because like I want to be able to like take them to the beach on a weekend or, you know, do play dates or take them to birthday parties. And I feel like I missed out on a lot of that with my firstborn. Yeah. And, you know, and that's it takes us back to like, you know, where people are like, oh, like, you know, people in the industry are charging so much money and this and that. But, you know, I didn't get maternity leave. I don't get sick calls. I don't get, you know, healthcare benefits. And like, I was like with my firstborn, I was back at work at 4 weeks, with my secondborn 4.5 weeks. Yeah. And then with my lastborn now, like he's 10 months and I finally took 4 months off, but it's because he was a winter baby, you know, but my other 2 are summer babies. So, but it does, life changes, right? And you just kind of have to adjust accordingly.
You got to find like that work-life balance.
That you definitely. And I think that's what keeps you motivated and going and like wanting to do more. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna obviously this time is never gonna come back. Yeah. They're never gonna be this age.
And like your kids are all in the same kind of age group then?
No, so all of them are 4 to 3.5 year gaps. So I have an 8-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 10-month-old. Okay. So they're all in different stages of life. So that's draining. Okay, because like what my 8-year-old requires, my 4-year-old is still that toddler phase. So it's like we're still going through the tantrums and the, you know, she thinks she's the boss. So and then my 10-month-old is just, you know, I'm sure. Have you guys ever seen those like videos that like you have 3 kids like that, you know, you see the different transitions, like the middle one's always like the middle child's always like the wild one, and then then the older one is like the middle one's always wild, but the older one is always like, oh, I'll take care of you, and they're the more nurturing ones, and then the little one's just like, oh, I'm just a fucking, you know, like I'm just a kid, right? Like that. And it's so true. Like they're all like that, but sometimes like maybe it's also because they have that age gap, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
And then how's your husband been, like, in terms of support? And
you know, he's just so nonchalant about it. Like he just goes with the flow. Yeah. And I think if he was more structured, it would have been different. But I think he's just like, do what you got to do. Oh, okay, like tomorrow's a 4 a.m. booking. Okay. Oh, tomorrow's this. Like he's just like, I feel like I'm more of, okay, tomorrow, this is what my day looks like. Okay, so you have to just deal with it, whatever. Like, and it's nice because I think it's important to have a partner you can 100% rely on. And I know I can leave the kids with him and just not even check in because I know he's got it, you know? We are very, like, we don't have a lot of, like, with the kids, like, we have very limited, you know, childcare. So it's between like him, myself, and like my mom, and then my sister-in-laws are very helpful, right? But of course, everyone's schedules are so all over the map. So I think it when they say it takes a village, it really does take a village. Yeah. Like, you know, trying to make it, and of course, like when you've worked so hard to build up a brand and build up a business, it's hard to take a step back, right? So it's hard to give up, you know, what you want. So there was a point where I was like, do I want to do this forever? Like, am I willing to like sacrifice being a mom and always being present for my children but then, you know, when you think about it, like my business is my first baby, you know, like I built that up, you know, grew with it. The changes, like and you change as a person when you're building something, right? When you're trying to build a business, I feel like you change as a person too, because you're like, oh wow, like you grow with your business, and it's same thing. You grow with your partner, you grow with your kids.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Do you ever like see yourself stepping away from like the makeup industry with all the knowledge you've gained as like being an entrepreneur over time? Like, do you see yourself being like, okay, well, I've accomplished this now. Like, I feel like I can chase this.
Yes and no. I don't think I can step away from the industry. I don't think I will ever really leave. Or at least I don't think I will. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Times, things can change. I started my product line a couple years ago. And so I have an online store with products. And I'm such a control freak, right? So I like to do everything myself. And I think that's another thing where that's something definitely I'm working on, where I'm like, I gotta let go. I gotta like let go of things and like allow my team to really
pass it off.
Right. And, but I think if anything, I would probably focus more on stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like work on my product line and build my online store up, and it's doing great, but is it at its potential? Probably not. Like I feel like I could push it definitely more, right?
What's the process for that? Like, how do you go about creating product, and like, how much say or hand do you have in the actual development of the product?
It's a lot of work. I think I did my research for probably a whole year before I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. And I didn't want to do cosmetics because my thing was, if I wanted to do, like I thought about cosmetics, because I don't know if you guys know my product line, but I stick to only makeup brushes, like tools. So brushes and like lashes. And so I don't do cosmetics because like for me, I felt like, okay, if I'm going to do cosmetics, I would want to do it properly, where I formulate my own stuff, and that's expensive. That's really expensive. So, by the time you would hire like a chemist and like try to, play around with formulas, and I'm like, like already like a couple $100,000 in, and I was like, okay, no, not there yet, But obviously, like with brushes and stuff, it's definitely different. There's certain brushes that are already like, they're popular, the styles are popular, this is what people need, these are the bristles. I'm very particular about the type of bristles and the handles and the glue that's used, and it's a lot of trial and error. It really is. Like, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of sleepless nights and like trying to do this on the side, because at that point I'm still working, right, during the day. So it's but
makes sense.
How important is it as a makeup artist to kind of keep an eye on other brands, other companies, or other, in a sense, competition? Or is there just such an abundance of clientele that that's something you don't really have to worry about?
I feel like some people think, like, oh, I got to keep an eye on so-and-so and this and to be honest, like people that know me, like know that I've always kind of stayed in my own lane. I've always done what I wanted to do and done things my way. And like, I don't really, I'm such a, you can say I'm a girl's girl. Like I get along with everyone, right? And I'm always cheering for other artists, cheering for other women in the industry, because whatever's meant to be for you will happen for you. Whatever's meant to be for them will happen for them. And I think like thinking that someone else is your competition really doesn't help you, because I think you are putting yourself down at that point, because you're like, your focus shouldn't be there. If you're wanting to like build up your brand, you shouldn't be focusing on what someone else is doing with theirs, because what they're doing with theirs might not work for you.
Yeah.
And what you and your need and and I'm in such a like, I mean, if you think about it, like, would I be looking at someone that's that's like a couple years younger than me, starting out, has all this free time, doesn't have kids? like, should I be looking at her work and be like, oh my God, well, she's so busy and she's so and she's doing this and whatever, because I'm not in that same, you know, I'm not in that same place in life that they are. I've had my time, I've done it. So when I tell like a lot of people this, I'm like I'm limiting. Like this year I limited my calendar, and I've been the happiest I've ever been, okay? And next year, learning from that this year, now next year I'm like, you know what? Every month I'm blocking off a weekend, because that's going to be my weekend to go out, do things, be with my kids and whatever, or I'm limiting like one bride a week or one client, you know, whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Financially, yes, that's, you know, it takes, you know, you're taking a hit, but mentally, it's you know, and you want your mental stability, right? To like, and so I think, like, I don't know, if I could give, you know, advice to the newcomers in the business, or anyone, even people that are already in it, you know, I say, like, I always say, like, stick to your lane, stay in your own lane, and just don't worry about what other people are doing with their brand and with their business, because the way I look at it is, like, realistically, is being booked and busy, you know, is that the only way to say that you're successful? No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think so. I think, like, producing quality work and limiting how much, you know, like, and being mentally present for your clients and for yourself, I think that goes a longer way.
Do you feel like there's in terms of pricing, do you feel like there is like an industry standard, or does there come a time where certain companies are like, you know, just dropping prices, and that kind of starts affecting like that industry standard of what pricing should be, and then like starts affecting everyone else? Do you get what I'm?
I get what you're saying. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think, like, someone else, like, I mean, if someone was to drop their prices, let's say, would I drop my prices? Absolutely not, right? Because I think you want to price your product or your service to whatever you think you are worth, right? And I tell a lot of, like, artists that I've trained to, I'm like, you know, you price yourself the way, you don't want to undercut your other people either, right? Because you don't want to, but then look at your work and really be honest to yourself and say, okay, hey, would I pay the service I'm providing, right? What would I pay for that if someone else was giving me this service? And then go according to that. Yeah. I don't really think, to be honest, like, I feel like you have your clientele. Everyone has their clientele. Like, if you're, depending on what you have to offer, whoever is your person, they'll come to you. You know, if they appreciate your work, if they respect you, and they know you can provide what they want, they will automatically come to you. So if someone else is offering a service, like, you know, a couple $100 cheaper than me, there might be one or two clients that might be like, okay, well, I'm getting it cheaper somewhere else, I'm going to go there. By all means, right? But do I get clients that are like, oh, you're not in my budget? Absolutely.
So you got to trust your work.
You have to trust your work.
You got to believe in your work.
You do. Yeah.
And believe the worth.
Yeah.
As a makeup artist, what do you think about the ban on destination weddings?
Yeah, the whole...
the Galtak.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think
what's your take on the whole
and
thing?
Do you think, like, people are actually going to stick to it, or are they just going to slide the Mexico?
She said people are having to.
No, they can't.
Really?
Right? Because, like, well, do you guys know what the Galtak is?
I told you, bro. Yeah. I said it.
But, like, I know someone who's literally doing it.
They're going to have to cancel.
But then
they're still doing it.
I'll report
It's your own family.
I don't think they're actually allowed to. Like, I don't think if you're like, you know, like, if you're a granthi, right, at a Gurdwara, I don't think you're actually allowed to do it, because it goes against the, because the Akal Takht is who makes these decisions, and once it's made, it's done, it's written, that's it. Everyone has to just follow it.
And I feel like it should be respected.
No,
it should be 100%. It should be respected. Yeah. I don't think. But
will is a question.
Like,
will there be, like, people slide the Mexico.
I'm sure people will.
Extra,
I
5,
wonder.
10 grand.
I wonder if people.
And he does it.
That's messed up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Money talks.
Yeah, but then someone's gonna rat that. Someone's gonna say something, and someone will find out.
I think there's okay, obviously not, but like I feel like there's a certain level of respect when it comes to like your culture and Sikhi, just respect it. Yeah. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And if it's coming from such a higher place, you don't disrespect that.
You can't, yeah.
And like if money's like you're saying, if someone's gonna sell out for money, then they gotta question why they're on the path of Sikhi and why they're even getting married with the Guru Granth Sahib there.
That's exactly it. That's right? A good point, because then why not just do a civil ceremony?
Yeah.
If you want it on the beach, then hey, you know what? Do a civil ceremony, right? But I think I agree with that. I think we do have to respect it, right? I mean, I don't practice Sikhi, like I'm not Amrit Shak, right? And I don't, but I go to the Gurdwara, I listen to, and I am like I'm so scared that to do something wrong that would go against, because I don't I don't know, I'm not a practicing Sikh, but I know my religion, right? I know what my parents have taught me, and and we're supposed to hold the Guru Granth Sahib
to its highest level.
Exactly, right?
And respect that, right? Like respect the word that's been given, and like if you're gonna go against it, then why do you want to get married?
What about people that already have it booked and then the rule came after that? What do you think they should do?
I think they're allowing those weddings to go through, aren't they?
Okay. There you go.
Okay, well that makes sense.
I mean, I'm not don't hold me on that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure because they would. I think whatever's booked for this year gets to.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they'll start it.
And I understand, bro. Like destination weddings, I get it, because like you think about it, you go to a gurdwara, it's held to a certain standard.
Yeah.
Right? You can't come in there with shoes.
Yeah.
You can't, you know what I mean? You can't be drunk. You can't come in there, and there's like certain rules and regulations that are there.
Your head has to be covered.
Right?
No alcohol, no drugs, no meat, it's keeping that place cleansed and pure.
Yeah.
Right?
To a certain standard. And like now you go to a beach randomly, you have people walking around. Yeah, that certain area might be held to a certain standard, but areas around it, what was there before they placed the Guru Granth Sahib there?
Probably
you know
a bar.
I mean? Right?
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like I understand. It's like someone comes to your house, bro. They're not just gonna do what they want. Right? They gotta respect your rules and regulations. Yeah. Right?
I agree.
I think this was gonna happen one day or another, right?
I'm shocked it didn't happen sooner. Yeah. Because I feel like things were getting out of hand. Right?
There's like guys wearing cowboys hats in the Gurdwara and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought that was very disrespectful.
I saw that.
Fucked.
Yeah.
I agree. I really felt like that was disrespectful. That's like
that was like next level.
I felt like they're trolling.
I feel like that was like
It felt like they're trolling, and like people are posting pictures of, oh look, the guy's wearing a cowboy hat, like as if it's a joke.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not a joke, because certain people, like other cultures, I know that they would have been pissed. And like people would
because we wouldn't. I mean, you would, like, you're wearing a hat today. Yeah. You wouldn't go into a gurdwara and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna take my hat off. I'm just gonna go like this. Yeah. You would take your hat off 100%. And put on a ramal.
100%.
And you would go matha tek.
Yeah, or if we were to go to a church, we would respect
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We wouldn't walk in there with like like we might not understand their culture, but we would respect what they ask us to do if we're going to their house of worship, right? Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it was just getting to a point where people were starting to like troll and like just think that they can just do whatever they want. And I felt
a lot of adjustments were being made according to your own. I think a lot of people think, okay, well, this is my lifestyle, so I'm not going to bend. Yeah. I'm not going to adjust to this. And I think, if you're, but then I think that's where it's like, okay, well, then don't do an Anand Karj, right?
100%.
Do it a different way.
And they'll also ban.
You can, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, there's so many other ways you can go about a marriage.
Yeah.
Go to court, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're all you're doing is signing a marriage license. Do it anywhere, right?
100%. I agree.
And they banned same-sex marriages as well, right?
Yeah, that's, I feel like, a whole new topic, right?
That's like
What? So what happened? Why are you laughing about it?
Cause like, bro, anything on that sort of topic is such a big. There's so many people that it's like a big divide, right?
Yeah.
And like, I get it where they came and they said that there should be a certain standard held. And like, nothing against people that are gay or you know, that want to get married in a certain way, but like, I get.
But it's the religious thing though. At the end of the day, like if we want to take the destinations wedding serious, then we should take what they all say serious. You can't just hold one thing accountable and one thing not accountable.
I think with the destination wedding, it's about the place of where you're taking the Guru Granth Sahib out of its home and taking it to a place of where, you know, like she said, there's a bar probably in the area
we don't
that
know how well it's cleansed,
how well it's cleansed, right? But where the gay marriage comes down to, it's what does it say? Where does it come up in the Guru Granth Sahib that it's like, you know? So that's their argument, is that it doesn't say in the Guru Granth Sahib that two you know, males can't get married.
But it does say that it's man and woman.
Yeah, it says it. Yeah, so the Guru Granth Sahib very clearly states that it's between a Singh and a Kaur. So I think that's the argument.
So that's the argument that they're trying to say.
Yeah,
and obviously, like, that's
not the argument. That's what it is.
That's what it is,
right?
Yeah.
But then, like, they're like, obviously, I don't want to like, you know what I mean? I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but like,
I think we live in a world, like, of course, like, it's all about equality and like diversity, inclusion, like, you know, and we do, and of course that's right. But then again, it takes us back to, okay, well, there's a lot of other ways to get married.
And that I agree with.
If there is a religion that's saying, you know, we're not going to offer this, okay, because it goes against our religion, then that's something we just have to respect.
100%.
Right?
I agree.
Because how you can't, like, what are you supposed to do? You can't revise a religion.
And the other thing is, I don't see other religions ever fixating or switching their rules or how they've lived all their lives for anybody else or because of the world we live in today.
I agree. Yeah, I was basically trying to say that, but without getting canceled. But I agree.
And realistically though, like, I mean, when someone like, you know, and I'm sure you guys agree, like, love is love, right? And if you're gay or you're lesbian, you want to be together, then really doesn't matter where you get married.
Yeah,
I don't think
there's no hate about it. It's just that's
I think when someone wants to be together, it's fine. You know, like, I think then at that point you just have to kind of accept, okay, you know what? Okay, we can't do this, but that doesn't mean we can't be together. Yeah. Then you do it a different way.
It's like at that point you're just purposely picking a battle.
Yeah.
Just to get your way.
Yeah, and at that point it's like, okay, well, like, when you know you want to be with someone, then why even put that on your relationship, that stress?
Yeah.
Or like let it, you know,
affect you. Because eventually it's going to come back to you, because if you're fighting that fight so hard.
Yeah. You might as well just, because you don't, and I feel like then that just drains you as an individual too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, and I mean, as I don't know how it works, but like, or I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Like what I know, what I understand is, like, once those decisions are made, that's it. There's no going back. Like,
and I agree. I think they should be respected.
Yeah.
And I think, like,
we just have to kind of. I think at that point you're like, you just accept it.
100%.
You know.
I think I agree.
Yeah. There's no fight. Like, why fight it?
Yeah, and I don't think there should be a fight.
No.
If that's just respecting the culture and the religion.
Rules are rules.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's an interfaith marriages too, right? That was the last one.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Dan. You ain't getting married at the Gurdwara.
But the one thing about that, I was talking to somebody about that, and they were saying, like, what if, like, that person, so if that person accepts it, like, because obviously there's been gore that, like, got married in Gurdwaras before, and they're not like that.
But there's also like, you know, there's also other races that are, you know, becoming Amrit Shak, and they're practicing Sikh.
Yeah.
You know, so but that's the thing though. I feel like if you're Amrit Shak and you're practicing, you know, Sikhi,
it's not gonna matter what
it doesn't matter.
You
if you are, you know, like, James Singh, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, then
yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, because you're practicing the religion. You're practicing Sikhi. You know what it's about.
And
You're
you
Amrit
understand it. Yeah.
You understand it.
Like their argument is always that like, oh, there's these money or these guys that are drinking, partying, yet they
Us.
right. But the thing is, bro, we grew up and we understand what Sikhi is. We understand what our culture is. We understand everything that comes around it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we as kids, every time we went to a gurdwara, our parents told us how to respect that place of worship, right? Cover your head. You have to sit there, you know, like we understand that. Whereas like, you know, Dan probably has no idea what to do when he shows up at a gurdwara. You get what I'm saying? Right, Dan? Do you? Yeah. So that's where I think that comes in.
Yeah.
Right? Interfaith marriages is like she said, if you're practicing Sikh and you understand it, right?
Yeah, then there's no problem.
And like every religion, every culture is gonna have bad apples.
I'm just curious to see what happens when it goes like when it's not if it's not followed.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of people. I don't think there's going to be many people that are not going to follow it. Because I think most people understand and okay, this is you know it's a religious thing.
But there's gonna be the oddballs out there.
Yeah, but they got outnumbered, bro. Like she said, like the best way to put it is like, why even put that stress on yourself? Right at that point, you're just picking a fight.
Yeah.
Like purposely.
Why have that
and
type
why
of
start
kind
your
of wedding?
And why start your marriage like that?
Yeah.
Like that's what you know. Like I feel like okay, hey, you know, it's already like there's a reason behind why this happened, and there's obviously a lot of rules were broken and a lot of things, and people were trying to kind of you know maneuver around.
It was getting out of hand.
Right? I mean, there's still ways they can do it. Like you can go have it here, then go to Mexico for 5 days, and go have the rest of your parties. What's the big
But it's
deal?
like at a certain point, you're kind of making a mockery of the culture when you're trying so hard to like push and bend the rules.
Yeah.
Like it feels like you're trying to just poke the bear.
Like
right?
like what we saw on Twitter.
Yeah, like exactly on Twitter, and then what happened, right? Like it's like what did that person gain from doing all that? Nothing.
Gained a bunch of hate and a bunch of, but then also that person might be just looking for a reaction.
I think that's what it is. A lot of people in today's day on social media are looking for a reaction, and we're
more
too
engagement,
busy.
right?
Yeah.
It's
and a lot of people are busy to like, you know, it's easy to give them that reaction. Like in sense like social media, like sometimes on our podcast, on TikTok, whatever, you'll see hateful comments. And like right away you want to respond, right? But in your head you're like, yo, this person is looking for that.
It's one person out of like hundreds. Right?
And like it'll be the same person commenting on all your posts, and it's like, well, clearly they're watching us. Yet they're still hating.
Nobody asks you guys to watch.
Exactly. But it's easy to react. And that's just what they're looking for. They want to poke the bear, gain some clout or whatever it is, and
or just that feeling of getting a reaction out of you. That's what a lot of people want, right? They want to make you, they want to say something that's gonna make you react, and that's gonna make them feel like, oh, I'm been sitting here watching this guy or whatever do whatever he's doing, or the girl do whatever she's doing. And the fact that they get that reaction out of you, that gives them an internal thing, like, oh, I did something. Like sense of accomplishment, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. And there's always all fake accounts.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should just be respected. That's
100%. It should be respected and followed. That's our stance on it for sure.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. I had a question. As a makeup artist, like obviously towards yourself and your art, there's somewhat of a bias as just in general, right? Like if someone's like any sort of art, like you're obviously gonna like the art you do.
Of course.
How important is it to critique your own art, or having a person in your circle that'll be really raw and genuine with you about your art in order for you to obviously elevate and be a better artist?
It's so important, honestly. And you know what? I think when you start thinking that you're the shit, that's when things start going downhill. I don't think honestly, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing for a living. It doesn't matter what, you know, industry you're in, or what you're doing, or whatever business you're in. I think as soon as you start thinking, no one can do it like me, I do it the best, you're kind of, you know, shooting yourself in the foot, because that's when you're not willing to learn new things. That's when you're kind of closing off the doors and just sticking to your ways. And I mean, I've come out of bookings where, you know, I'm driving home after a booking and I'm like, I could have done better today. You know, I could have done this better, or I should have done it this way, but have there been bookings where I've come out and I'm like, that was good. Like, I gave it my all. That was good. She looked amazing. Yes, absolutely. So I don't think, I mean, I love what I do, and like I said, that's why I don't have a signature look, because I'm always trying to experiment, and I'm always trying to challenge myself, and I'm always trying to, and I have people that will actually be like, hey, like, do you mind if I bring another artist's work to show you? Like, this is what I like. And I'm always like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and I didn't realize, but like, I've actually had someone say that they've worked with people where they're like, oh, well, pick something from my page, because like, I don't want to, like, I don't want to copy another artist's work. And it's not copying, it's just recreating, but putting your own twist to it, right? So I think, like, the way I look at it is, you can do the same look, like, you can create something someone else has done and still make it look different, still give it your own touch to it, right? But that's just, that's me.
Like, the importance of not just having, like, yes men around you, you know, like, people that'll be, like, it's like for anything, bro, like music and stuff, like, you can't have people constantly just like pumping your tires.
Yeah, you need the criticism.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the only way you'll get better and better. And like, in an industry where it's so changing, so many different artists, so many more people are coming up. Also, someone that's like starting off, what's an advice you would share?
So honestly, I've gotten this question, like, what's your advice to newcomers? And I always say, what do I always say? I always say, like, do it your way. Don't look around. Like, don't copy what other people are doing. It might not work for you, you know? And allow yourself time to better your skills. You know, you don't need to go out there, and like I said before, quantity is not the way to, you know, you don't need to be constantly busy to think that you're doing really well in this business. You know, quality of work matters so much more. Do enough to keep yourself. You don't want to overdo it and then burn yourself out. And again, you know, just remember that this might be your everyday thing, but it's not an everyday thing for your client. You know, always take your, you know, a positive energy into your client's home, you know, because as soon as, and, you know, we hear it all the time, like, you know, some people will say, like, and this is like with anyone in the wedding industry, by mid-season, we are always so drained. You can tell. Like, and I know I've been there in the past where, you know, by the time July rolls around, I'm just like, oh, I still have like 3-4 months of this, you know. And that's when, you know, it starts to show in your work. And I think as soon as you feel overwhelmed, just take a step away, you know, take some time out for yourself. Go, just turn it off. And it's hard to turn it off. It's hard to turn off your social media, and it's hard to take that break. It's hard to, you know, like, especially when you're working. And that's why it's good to be, and I always say, like, and that's my number one advice, is be mindful of how much work you're taking on. Because it's easy to start booking up things a year, you know, from now. Like, it's, and even now, like, it took me 3 kids and 15 years to learn, you know, where I'm like, it's okay to block off time during my busiest time of the year for myself. You know, yes, am I losing money? Absolutely I am. But at the end of the day, am I happier? Yes. Is my family happier? Yes. Is my husband happier? Yes. Am I there for, like, am I mentally good? Yes, right? Because money's not everything at the end of the day, right? And I think that's the thing. I think we think, oh my God, this is my season, so I have to. And I think that's what I used to go in thinking. It's only a couple months. It's really not. People are getting married throughout
All
the
the
year
time,
now.
yeah.
You know,
It's
winter.
crazy.
Like, I've had a handful of people message about Christmas Eve. Like, Christmas Eve, like that December, like 23rd, 24th.
Christmas Eve party?
Oh my God, like weddings
really?
happening. Yeah. And you know, and I was like, you know, the first couple years I actually started makeup. I used to do weddings in December because it's a good weekend too. You know, I feel like everyone's off.
Yeah.
Might as well get married. But, you know, it took me, I think the first 5 years of being in the business, I did a Christmas Day, Christmas Eve wedding every year. And then after I had my firstborn, I was like, yeah, no, I want to be at home, you know, with my
So like
kids.
that's something you looking back would be like, I wish I would have.
Yeah, I wish I had, like, you know, like, well, I mean,
An advice you'd pass on.
I don't think at that point, I don't think it mattered as much because it's not like it was just me and my husband, right? So I'm like, okay, like I can still come home, nap and whatever. But now when you have kids, it's, you know, you want to do things with your kids and you have plans and you have like family events and that kind of stuff. So just
what's the kind of advice you would give to them as, like, you know, dealing with personal struggles and, like, because obviously, like you were saying, no sick days and like still showing up with that smile, because obviously you've probably been through things in like personal life as well where you still had to show up. So what was kind of your way of going about it?
There's days when you wake up or you've like you're just not, you've had something happen and you're just not there. And to be honest, there's no advice. Like there's really nothing I could say besides saying you just push through it. Like, you might not be, but sometimes it's nice. I feel like this might not be for everyone, but I feel like makeup is kind of like it's therapeutic to me. Like, days I'm stressed out, you'll find me in my studio room. Like, I'll just shut it all off, throw on some music, and I'll like clean my brushes, or I'll like go through my kit, I'll clean it up, and I'll do my own makeup or whatever, right? Because like, to me, it's not just work for me. Like, for me, makeup has always been, like, I've always been a very artsy person. You know, and like I've always been, you know, I used to like to, like, you know, draw and do whatever, but so to me it's more so, okay, like, this is therapeutic. Like, when I leave, is it hard waking up 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 2 a.m? Absolutely. It's like, are there days when I'm like, oh man, I want to sleep in, I don't even want to go here? Absolutely. I wake up, but once you're up and you're out of the house and you're there, you're just like, your mood changes. Like, my mood changes. I don't know about everyone else. Like, I can't speak for everyone, but when I'm with my clients, I'm in like my own zone. I forget what's happening at home, what's happened the day before, what's happening during that week. Like, that's my escape. And I think it's very important to be able to turn off what's happening so that you can be there for your client, right? Yeah. There's really no like
set answer.
Yeah. You just have to do it. Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that builds character in that industry, right? Like,
absolutely.
It builds that thick skin.
Yeah.
Just having to push through and get through.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a very you have to have very thick skin in that world.
Yeah. And you know, you might be having a bad day, and all of a sudden, like, you might even have a difficult client that same week.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you know, you were here, but now you're just like, okay, someone save me.
Not paying the $50.
Anything coming up for you? Any future projects or?
No, I'm taking a little bit of a step back, just for a little bit. Like I said, I'm trying to clear up my schedule. I'm being very, I'm being very careful about how much work I'm taking on, because, you know, it's so funny because, like, I feel like I said this last year too, where I'm like, that's it, these are my years, you know, like,
retiring.
yeah, like these are my years. I'm gonna, you know, live my best life. Cause like I gave up my 20s to build this business, build the brand, do what I had to do, you know, build a home for myself. And I'm in a good place, you know, knock on wood. And, you know, where I'm happy where I am. And I think just like now learning to keep that balance, right? That's what I'm working on. And there are days when I'm like, oh, maybe, you know, I could take on more work but then it just doesn't make sense at this point. So I think like this coming year, like 2024, 2025, I think I'm just going to limit until the kids are all in school full time. Yeah. Then I feel like I can go back to adding more, right? Yeah. And that's the nice thing about, you know, being a business owner. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, you own your own business, so you work your own hours. You can say no and yes to whatever you want. I'm like, that's not entirely true.
No chance.
Right? I'm not working with my own business, with my own hours.
You're in client's time.
I'm on my client's time. So if my client says, hey, my event's running, if this event's running an hour late, or this is going, and I don't want you here at this time, my photographer's not coming, you work around their clock, right? Like when I'm booked in with my brides, that's why that's another thing, like I refuse to double book. I've done it in the past and I've always regretted it. And that's another thing. A couple years ago, I just said, you know what, not double booking, not going to do it. Like it's not worth it mentally, physically, just not worth it. So, you know, I think just knowing when to say, okay, this is enough for me. Take a step back and just be happy with how much you're getting and what you're doing, and just be happy with your work, right?
Yeah. Congratulations for that though. Like 16 years of, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Your Instagram, you want to plug in your pages?
Yeah.
Where people can find you.
Yeah, I'm on, it's the same everywhere, Contoured Studios. You can find me, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
Hope you had
a lot
a
of fun.
good time.
Yeah, I had such a good time talking to you guys. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully we didn't offend anyone with our...
No, I mean, obviously somebody somewhere will take some sort of offense.
These guys get offended over anything that we say.
Like again, like these are opinions by us. Like you don't have to agree with them or disagree with them.
I mean, not even opinions by us. They're factual statements by at the end of the day. I don't think you have a choice to agree or not to agree.
Yeah. But so, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A lot of fun. And we're the Bains and Beers Podcast, and we're out.
How long we get done?
Hour 35.
Wow. Oh, wow. That was a lot to talk about, guys.
So yours was like